All right, welcome everyone. So, we've all dived headfirst into flexible work, right? But what's the hidden cost? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the surprising and honestly kind of tough downsides of the hybrid model.
This is the question on everybody's mind. We were promised the freedom of working from home combined with the connection of the office. But the real answer, as we're all starting to figure out, is way more complicated than a simple yes or no.
And this right here is what people are calling the hybrid paradox. Check it out. Over 70% of us want to keep these flexible options. I mean, who wouldn't? But at the very same time, we're seeing this massive wave of burnout, isolation, and, this nagging feeling that things just aren't fair. So, what is really going on?
Well, it seems to start with a really basic problem, a deficit of trust. When we're not all in the same room, old habits die hard. And for a lot of managers, it just feels like they've lost control?
Get this. That's the percentage of managers who flat out believe their remote employees are less productive. Now, it doesn't mean they're all bad leaders. It's just that they're trying to operate in a totally new world without the right tools to measure what actually matters, our real output.
So, to make up for not being able to see us working, what do some managers do? They start watching our digital footprints. And all of a sudden, it's not about the quality of your report, it's about how fast you reply on Slack. We've literally created a culture of performativity where just looking busy online is more important than actually getting work done.
And here's the human cost. All this digital monitoring is creating a whole new kind of stress. We've basically traded the frustration of the morning commute for the anxiety of being constantly watched. And that feels like a terrible trade, doesn't it?
Okay, but this lack of trust doesn't just create stress. It opens up a huge can of worms when it comes to fairness. You can think of it like a proximity tax, a kind of invisible penalty you pay for not being physically in the office.
It's a real thing. It's called proximity bias. And it's basically a glitch in our brains. We just naturally tend to favor the people we see face to face every day. In a hybrid world, this thing gets put on steroids, creating a clear in-group at the office and an out-group for everyone working from home.
And the data on this is just shocking. One study found that remote workers were actually 15% more productive, and this is a huge but, they were way less likely to get a promotion. It's like their hard work was completely invisible to the people making the decisions. So it's really no surprise that 2 in 5 of us are now actively worried that working from home is going to hurt our careers. We're being put in this impossible position of choosing between the flexibility we desperately want and the visibility we know we need to get ahead. And this isn't just unfair, it's flat out toxic because it creates resentment on both sides of the fence. Folks in the office can feel like they're carrying an extra burden, while remote workers feel like they're being sidelined and punished. It's just a perfect recipe for a divided, unhappy team. But the problems don't even stop there. If you look beyond the resentment and the fairness issues, you'll see that hybrid work is also quietly chipping away at the social connections that are basically the lifeblood of any company. We're talking about something called social capital. Think of it like the trust and the shared inside jokes and the general understanding that makes real teamwork possible. In an office, a lot of this happens naturally, right? By the coffee machine, in the hallway. But when we're remote, we have to build it on purpose, or it just evaporates. And this social capital, it kind of has 2 flavors. Structural is all about who you know, your network that helps you get stuff done. Relational is about how well you know them, the deep trust you've built, which is absolutely critical for real innovation. You need both, and both are at risk in this hybrid world.
So what happens when these connections start to fray? Well, everything starts to get harder. Teams get stuck in their own little bubbles. Innovation takes a nosedive because those random, spontaneous what-if chats just don't happen. And man, good luck trying to bring a new person into a culture that's basically become invisible.
So, what's the solution? What do we do? Look, it's not about forcing everyone back into the office 5 days a week. It's about a much bigger shift, a fundamental change in how we think about building a company culture in the first place. We just can't rely on learning by osmosis anymore. That old school idea that you'll just magically pick things up by being around the office. We have to be super intentional, super purposeful about creating connections and sharing knowledge. Honestly, it's the only way to make sure everyone feels like they belong, no matter where their desk happens to be. This is the big idea, the huge mental shift we all have to make. Proximity does not equal productivity. We have to start designing our work, our performance reviews, and our whole culture around rewarding people for what they do, not where they do it from.
So that's the challenge for all of us, isn't it? For every leader, for every team member, how do we redesign work to be more fair, more connected, and a whole lot more intentional? It's not about choosing a place anymore. It's about choosing a new way of working together.